Mr. Sheets, Undersecretary Nathan Sheets, I'm looking at an ad that was placed in Politico. And this ad basically raises the question, why all the applause? And they have the pictures of Xi Jinping, President of the People's Republic of China, Vladimir Putin, the President of the Russian Federation, and Francois Hollande, President of France. And then it answers the question. They're applauding those in Washington seeking to dismantle the U.S. Ex-Im Bank. And then it asks why. Because shutting down the U.S. Ex-Im Bank is good for business and creates thousands of jobs in China, in Russia, and in France. And then the ad goes on to say, don't let American jobs go overseas, keep the playing field level for American businesses, reauthorize the Ex-Im Bank. Now, until recently, most large official providers of export credits were party to the OECD arrangement, which, as you know, sets limits on the rates and terms that government-backed export credit agencies can provide to their exporters. However, according to Ex-Im Bank's latest competitiveness report, as of 2013, two-thirds of all official export credit support went beyond OECD guidelines. Much of this unregulated financing is offered by China, Brazil, India, and Russia on far more generous terms than can be offered by Ex-Im Bank and other members of the multilateral OECD arrangement. Given this trend, it seems to me that this is exactly the wrong time to be pushing to scale back or shut down the bank altogether. With many countries doubling down on their efforts to spur growth by expanding exports with the support of export credit financing, what would it take for these countries to entertain U.S. efforts to push for a global reduction in export credit support? Moreover, how much leverage does the U.S. Actually have in pushing for a multilateral reduction in export credit financing when the world is well aware that efforts are already underway in Congress to unilaterally shut down the Ex-Im Bank? Well, we've been talking a lot about this today. And this ad, even though it's by one of the proponents, you know, for reauthorization, it really does describe what we've been talking about. How do these countries get away with ignoring the arrangement, and how big are their efforts to do that?
Thank you. As you point out, the moves toward unilateral curtailment of export credits would put us in a much weaker position in our negotiations vis-a-vis these important emerging market economies that you describe. I think the incentive that they have, and it is what's driving this international working group and our efforts to extend the protocols and the international agreements to include the major emerging market economies, is a recognition that they benefit from global integration, and that the only way they can integrate sustainably into the global environment is by playing by the rules of the game. And this international working group is a vigorous effort by the Treasury and others to bring them inside the periphery. It's also, as I've said, a key objective in our multilateral engagement and our bilateral engagement is to better articulate these best practices and expand the periphery of export guidelines to the extent that we can.
Well, thank you very much. And let me just say this. I have not been one that have been known to, you know, go around waving the flag all the time. But I feel like we're being pushed around. I feel like the greatest country in the world is being not only pushed around, but taken advantage of. And while we sit here talking about closing down our Export-Import Bank, we have people laughing at us and clapping and applauding, hoping that we do it. And I don't like it. I yield back the balance of my time.